Is this working?
Mais on voit pas encore dans la main. Non, parce que c'est dans 2 secondes.
OK. Puis là, ouais, après ça, je clique sur l'écran.
Oui, tu vas vite à passer à tes slides, tu cliques sur Screen Sharing.
OK. Puis là, si je le fais maintenant, ça va tout fucker. Ou?
Non, mais il faut que tu sortes de ça.
OK, oui. Puis là, le micro, lui.
Ah, là, ça vient. Ah!
Is this working, dudes? First webinar ever. So.
Don't be shy, start chatting.
All right. So, hey, if you guys want to type something so that I can see that you guys are there. Favorite crop? Okay, questions? This is awesome. I can't believe we're doing this. Thank you for being there, guys. So it's about to start in 2 minutes, and just to put you in context, we just had a huge snowstorm here. Everything's paralyzed. The whole city is gone berserk. But we're talking about farming. It's awesome. Okay, so it's working, guys. You see the questions? Okay, ask me a question.
Well, it's going really fast. Luckily, hey there, good evening from France. No French.
Ah, le français, mais oui.
Here.
L'anglais, c'est la langue universelle avec ça, mais dans mon cœur, vous savez, c'est en français que ça se passe. My English is not as good as my French, but we can do both later. Right? Moi, je mets pas les auteurs.
Non.
Okay.
We were saying freezes for their favorite crop. There's a bit of an echo.
There's a bit of an echo. There's nothing we can do. Perhaps I could talk. No, huh?
Is it, hello, Jen, can you see this?
Can I see what?
There are questions on the side?
No.
No.
Enable chat, I think.
That's it.
No. Enable chat. All messages are private.
We see them, so we can work.
Puis si moi je mets les écouteurs, ça va être moins écho?
Sûrement.
Mais pas tant que ça.
Pas tant que ça.
All right, so it's 5 o'clock, guys. So,
How's it going?
is everything working out fine? Okay, so first of all, I want to thank all of you guys for being here tonight. This is awesome. I'm very excited about this moment. I've been working really hard the last 2 years to really prepare what we're about to show you. It's a little tiny bits of some of the things that I've been working on a new farm, but we have an hour together. So what I propose is that we quickly jump into it. And if you guys have questions along the way, you can type them. And I have 2 people here that will relay those questions, and hopefully we'll get back to them as we go along here. So I'm just going to start this up. Boom. Start my presentation. And there we go. Okay. So, jumping right into the fact of the matter. Full screen. It's full screen. Yeah. Oops. Il est arrivé quelque chose. Ok, j'ai bouffé. Ok, webinar, sharing, partage une fenêtre avec webinar. Arrêtez le partage, masquer.
Ok.
Ok. So, on le voit plus? Non, ça peut être d'une autre façon.
Ouais, tu peux mettre.
Juste que je retrouve ma souris. Ça, c'est comment?
C'est juste qu'on voit la note
OK. Ça? Ben, on a le choix. C'est soit comme ça ou c'est soit full screen. We're setting up this, guys. Taking just a few minutes, make sure that it's awesome, and then we're on. So, okay.
Ah, it says your full screen is working fine.
Okay, so starting now. Okay, we need to get going because I want to pass this on to you guys. So first of all, thank you for being here. It's awesome. Like I was just telling before we actually got going here. A lot of the things that I'm presenting about today are things that I've been planning for the last 2-3 years. I'm working on a new project and getting new insights, new information about how to grow better, how to get things going, how to develop the system where you're farming full-time, growing vegetables, awesome vegetables, and making a good living out of it. For the last, 7-8 years, I've been preaching, I guess, a farming model that allows you to make a good living on small acreage. And I guess one of my claim to claim, or at least the first way I was presenting this was that you can make $100K, $100,000 per acre growing on a market gardening style production. And so I've been talking about this for a while, and a lot of you probably have seen my farm. Next slide. You have to laugh about these things, eh? First webinar. Okay. Try like this. And même plus là. Okay. When I click here, et puis là. Okay, so a lot of you guys have probably seen this image a lot. This is an aerial picture of Les Jardins de la Grelinette, which is my home farm. We started this farm, my wife and I, in 2004, and we've been quite successful. But the name of the game at this farm was to show people that even on small acreage, but using different techniques and principles, we can make a really good living. And this is, I think, important in the context. What? On voit pas la slide. Ça, on voit pas. Okay, c'est ça que les gens disent. Okay. Ça fait que je retourne à Google Chrome. Je vais juste pas comprendre pourquoi elle n'est pas là. C'est ça.
Ça marche plus. Peut-être la qualité de ton écran, puis là, après, tu parfait, ça. OK. Puis, c'est pas bon, ça. Au pire, on peut dire au nom de... Ah, peut-être là, si tu fais.
C'est ça qu'on veut voir. OK. Ok.
Ça, c'est ça qu'on vient de faire, c'est pas bon.
Ça, c'est pas bon.
Non, escape. Ok. Ici. On retourne ici. Après, ça retourne à ça. Parce que je suis mal. Voilà.
Pourquoi il a le tour?
Je pense que c'était full screen. De ça. J'essaie de remarcher. Ça marche. Yes.
You guys are patient. Thank you so much. All right. Okay, so now we're full screen and it's working. So I was talking about La Grelinette, which is what you're seeing here, aerial pictures of the farm. And, you know, we started this project in 2004, so it's been, you know, almost 14 years now that we're farming this small piece of land. And this farm, without us knowing it, has become a symbol throughout the world. It's pretty crazy about this whole concept that a farm doesn't need to be big to be productive and profitable. A big part of our success for us being able to do this has been the tools that we've been using and the appropriate technology for small-scale growing that along the way has evolved tremendously, and that's the purpose of the talk today. But this is a picture of our initial tool shed when we started the garden in 2005. And when we started the project, the overall cost for all the equipment that we used was around $40,000. And this has changed, obviously, because now some of the things are pricier. And we got somewhat a bit more sophisticated, but the take-home message was that you didn't need to have a lot of capital to get going. And that's definitely the power of the model here, is that with hand tools and with appropriate technology and especially good growing practices, you can really get going and make a good living farming. Okay? I'm not sure that everybody knows this, and I think, you know, before I really lay out some of the new things that I'm working on now, that I put things in context and people understand a bit more where we come from and why we've evolved the way we've evolved. And a big part of that, when I look backward, is happened when we made a trip to Cuba. That was in the early 2000s, after our first year of farming, living in a teepee. That was pretty cold winters, so we took some of the time to in the winter, and we went to Cuba to visit small-scale farmers there. And what we saw was really amazing, because the farmers in Cuba were farming without tractors because they didn't have any fossil fuel, they didn't have any tractor parts or petroleum or diesel to put in the tractors, so they reinvented their whole farming for it to be 100% organic. And they were farming in permanent raised beds of densely seeded and transplanted crops. And why this was so influential for us, it was because it was the first time we were seeing a non-tractor farming setup at scale. These guys were farming acres and acres and acres of organic vegetables without any tractors. And that really inspired us moving forward. We also made another trip that was very influential for me as a young grower and spent some time in France. At that point in time, I was reading and researching a lot of the books coming out of California, talking about the French intensive tradition of market gardening. And so I wanted to go there and see for myself what the growers were up to. And I won't tell you all the story here, but what came out of that was the tools that the French growers were using were really more sophisticated, and the whole purpose of everything that they were doing was to be very gentle with the soil, not disturbing the ecology, and trying to minimize the amount of work they would put in the soils. And so that was very influential for us. Then going fast here, one of the key highlights of our growing system is working in a permanent bed system, where you have mounds that we call beds that are hilled and a couple of centimeters high, and then they are not overhauled. We don't make them, we don't plow, we don't rotor till. We've shaped our beds, and we walk in the walkways and we cultivate in these beds. And that's really the backbone of our system, and all the tools that we've used in the past and that we're using still are standardized to work with 30-inch bed system, 75 centimeter if you're not in the US. Our alleyways are 18-inch, 45 centimeters. And again, these are standards that we've adopted on the farm. I won't go through the whole description of our farming model because I think it's well laid out in the Market Gardener. But these are fundamentals when we're talking about tools and strategies, the 30-inch bed system. So most of the tools that we've used in the past and are still using now, they're standardized to do the work in 30-inch or 15-inch to do it in 2 pass. You have a question? Okay. So we're good. The slides are not moving. They're not. Gosh, man, pourquoi ils ont fait ça? Non? Non?
I'm not using the slides, but it's still the same.
Ah.
Je
vais trouver, non, parce que ma présentation. Non, toujours rien. Guys, are the slides moving? I'm checking a really cool slideshow here, but I guess you guys are not. Okay, so well, worst case, you guys will send you the slideshow. We're filming it, so you'll see it. But I would really have liked to get it going.
Ça marche, ça marche?
Non.
Non,
c'est ça. Non, je pense que c'est le travail par le webinaire.
Non, ça marche.
Ouais, ça marche.
Ça marche? Ouais, ça a changé. Ouais, fait que la seule chose, c'est de continuer à faire ça.
Okay.
Okay.
And you guys are awesome to be so patient. Okay, so I'll just revisit some of these slides here for you. Talking about the tool shed, this is a picture of our original tool shed, simple tools that we still use today, and that really are simple but well designed. The startup cost, these are the numbers here. And can you guys confirm that this is working now?
Yeah.
Okay. Là, I'm at the startup cost, and you see when you add up everything, it comes down to about 40 grand. Okay, so we're on it. And pictures of the organoponicos, which were the original permabeds that I visited in 2004, very influential for me, and pictures of the tools from Europe that I saw when I traveled with Maud and my wife in France. Okay. You see pictures here of the permabeds. I've called them permabeds now because I think it's simpler than permanent raised beds, but they're actually the same. And 30-inch, 75. You guys, if you've read my work, you're aware of that. And the tools are standardized to do the work in 30-inch or 15-inch to do it in 2-pass. People often ask me, why are the tools standardized to this width for the beds? And the reason is because Elliot Coleman. If some of you guys do not know who this dude is, a very influential organic farmer from the US. He wrote the first farming book that I read, The New Organic Grower, many, many years ago. I actually consider Elliot to be my mentor and a very big inspiration for me, even today, and he's a friend. And we get to hang out, which is awesome because Elliot is, I think, 78, and he's just an awesome human being. So the bed system is the backbone of how we work on the farm. The beds, what's great about them is that they're human scaled. You can hop over them, you can harvest into them, and we've standardized the width, but also the length. Okay, so I won't go into detail about this today. It's all in the Market Gardener, but you know, standardizing your field blocks has made a big difference for us in our cropping system. We don't use a tractor on the farm, and a lot of people still today don't really understand why. But the reason is because we're trying to optimize yield and space and time. And when you're using a tractor, usually the tractor is set up to plow, disc, hill, shape soils. Tractors were made for that. But that's not our goal at the farm. We want to minimize tillage or even replace it with biological tillage. And that's how we work with permanent raised beds. Okay, so we don't use the tractor to make beds because, you know, we've made them 15 years ago, and then we don't use them. We don't make them anymore. But tractors, especially the seasoned growers, will always argue that they're faster and more efficient for row cultivation. But what happens is that the tractor becomes the focal unit of how everything is laid out on the farm. And so you'll have a couple of weeding implements, and then all of your crops, the spacing between the crops get to be determined by the weeding implement. And so you're ending up with a system that is spread out and where you see a lot of soil, bare exposed soil. So perhaps it's faster, but it's just you have more ground to cover. In a biologically intensive system, the goal is to have the crops really close to one another so that when they're at 3/4 of their growth, they actually shade out the weed. And so that's an important aspect of the biologically intensive cropping system. You know, the canopy that it forms also retains the moisture, and overall it just creates like better production per square foot. I've been trying all my best to educate growers about this concept of replacing mechanical tillage with biological tillage, making sure that people understand that when you're intensifying production and you have more than 2 or 3 rows per 30-inch bed systems, you need to have really good soil structure. That's really the key. You want your root system to be able to shoot down really deep. And so then what happens is that the crops are not competing for water nutrients, and you still get really nice yields and really nice calibers. To get that really good soil structure, you can have, there's 2 ways. You can mechanically till or really plow, or you can let the earthworms do the job. But that involves that you're not plowing and you're not rotor tilling, because every time you're doing that, you're destroying the habitat of the earthworm. That's why I've been talking about replacing mechanical tillage with biological tillage. So again, I have a whole conference on working with living soils where I go in details about this, the why, the what, and the how. But when people figure this out, it just makes so much more sense, because in the end, if you leave your soil untouched, you have the biology actually doing the work for you, and you get super healthy soils and super healthy crops. One other aspect of the biointensive system, working with 75-centimeter beds, is you get more efficiency this way. When crops are ganged together more tightly on the same space, let's say we're on this picture, what we're seeing is 5 rows of carrots on 75 centimeters or 30-inch. Compared that to on 3 meters or 5 or 6 feet, is that when you're using material like row cover or landscape fabric, you need 1/5 of the material to do the exact same job, which is covering 5 rows of carrots. And when you're working in the market garden, that increment of 5 is important, because not only will you save a lot of money, instead of costing you X for tarps, it's going to cost you 5 times less, but you're actually doing the work 5 times faster. So again, I've talked about this in length, and there's a lot of information out there about these spacings. how they work, the bed systems, the 30-inch. I've really tried to explain to people some of the downsides about using a rototiller, and not to say that it's don't use it, because that would be kind of a bit too religious, but understanding that when you have soil that has really nice aggregates and a soil structure, and you put a rototiller to it, well, you're pulverizing all these aggregates into finer particles. And then what happens is that at first glance, the soil looks loose and deep, but if you come back a week later, it starts to compact, because you don't have the aggregates anymore that's binding the soil, creating the soil structure. You're also destroying the habitat of the earthworms and other creatures of the soil web, which in the end doesn't allow you to benefit from their presence and their work. A lot of people still would like to argue with me about this, and it's fine. Like I'm not there to tell you not to use a rototiller, but what I'm here to show you is that there's alternatives, and there's alternatives way that perhaps take more forethought, but in the end, you'll get the benefit of having healthier soil. And that's why, I guess I've been one of the first one to really talk, about harrows, power harrows that has tine on vertical level for horizontal tilling, and really, working the soil not more than 1 inch, 2 inch deep, something that is a lot more earthworms friendly, and using glass silage tarps, UV treated silage tarps that cover your soil to make sure that you can get rid of some of the dormant weed seeds that are there, but also to prepare the soils without having to plow or disc or rototill them. You leave a tarp on whatever's there. It could be crop residues, it could be weedy patches, it could be whatever. You leave a tarp for 2 to 3 weeks, and when you remove it, boom, you have a clean slate of your permanent beds that you're ready to work in, and take it from there. So again, I've covered all of this in the past, but it's been a big part of our system, and this all integrates together to, again, talk about the fact that using the right strategies and the right tool, a farm doesn't need to be big to be profitable. And we've been, I guess, proving this for a long time. Now there's a lot of other growers around the world that are showing the same. Okay, so it's very exciting. My book, this is, I don't know what to say about this. When I wrote The Market Gardener, I had absolutely no idea that it would touch so many people around the world. It's now translated in 5 languages. It's awesome. I'm very humbled by this. But to be honest, when I look at either numbers of sales or wherever it's going next, the thing that really touches me is when I get written letters or emails, or when I meet people that tell me that because they've read The Market Gardener, it has changed their life and changed their farming. And yeah, I feel awesome about that, because I know how it is to start a farm, the struggles, and yeah. A lot of the information that I'm quickly visiting here can be found in The Market Gardener, but also there's a DVD, The Market Gardener Toolkit. It shows you in video what we do on the farm, the tools that we use, and the overarching strategies are pretty much well presented in 1.5 hours. So you can check that out, and it's summed up there. Before I move on and talk about some of the game changers on my new farm project, I also want to take the time to acknowledge the fact that, we've really started from scratch. And a lot of people now, they look at me or my wife and our farm, and they see that we've been successful, we've made it, but this is a picture of how we started our project. It was 1/3 of an acre on rented land, and we knew nothing about farming. I don't come up from a farming background, but I've been always super motivated to just make it happen for me and my family. So that's a picture of my wife. We've ran Les Jardins de la Grelinette for 10 years together, and you see that that's a picture of when I was younger, a bit thinner, pre-Instagram picture, because you see everything's wilted. the basket is half empty, and we're really proud to grow summer squash, which is perhaps the easiest crop to grow. But yeah, and people don't really know this, but you know, we lived for 2 years in a teepee, really roughing it out. We were highly motivated about starting a small farm. We had no money. We had seen a young couple, I tell the story a lot, a young couple, because we started in New Mexico, USA, really dry, hot weather climate there. And there was a young couple farming with their 2 kids and living in a teepee, and we thought, yeah, that's awesome, let's do it. And so we did that in Quebec, Canada, but without the same results. We really learned the hard way, but you know, we've always been excited about what we do, and that kept us through. That's a picture of Les Jardins Agrolinette when we bought the farm. After 2 years in the teepee, we just felt we needed to get something better, an upgrade, and so we bought a rabbit barn. So there's about 5,000 rabbits living in this barn, and there was almost a 3-acre prairie, about a bit more than a hectare, in the middle of which that rabbit barn was there. And so that's really the start of our project. And you know, I just want to tell you guys that, you know, even though now I've moved on and I'm reaching new levels of production and insights about farming, we've really started from scratch, like most of you guys have done or are about to set up. Okay, so along the way, keys to success. Just before that, I'll show you another picture here. This is what we do, and this sums up everything that I think about when I think about the global scene that we have here, which is the good food revolution. We're growing awesome veggies, healthy, for our community, and we bring it to the farmers market every Saturday. We also have a CSA, and we've been surfing the wave of people that are concerned about their food system and that are highly, highly, highly motivated and excited to meet with us every Saturday morning to get their veggies. See how this guy is scooping up tomatoes? And that's the revolution happening all around. It's just like people are waking up to the importance of feeding themselves locally with healthy foods. And so we've been having a blast, and that's pretty much the dream there, which is growing awesome veggies and connecting with people in your community about that. So now, if I sum up some of my work, some of our keys to success at the farm, I've talked about this in length, but growing better, not bigger. And the land constraint that we've had on the farm was definitely our biggest ally in all of this. And quick shout out to everybody that have more land that they need. It's not actually better because it's a trap. A lot of people say, well, I have 3 acres or I have 5 hectares and I'll just farm that. But actually, you know, the constraint that we had on the farm allowed us to always improve before wanting to grow out. And I think our biggest success actually is directly driven to the fact that we have more land to work on. So I encourage you guys to get good at 1 acre, half an hectare before you move up. And so that's a good strategy. We've left out the tractor and focused instead on different horticultural and management strategies. And that, again, has been a big focal point for us, a winning strategy. We've focused on a lot of things instead of, you know, weed control and looking at all the tools they can use. We've looked at weed prevention. We've looked at, you know, intensifying in our greenhouse to grow more in the same space. There's a lot of examples that I give in my book and in my previous work. The farm design, I'm a big proponent of farm design. I think they're super important, and more insights should be given to how the patterns of the farm. I think on our farm, we've been pretty successful. We have a circuit pattern, permabeds, the standardizing, the field blocks, the crop rotation. All of that has allowed our farm to be productive and profitable over many, many years. I talked about the initial investment, not so huge. It's been a big factor also, but I guess the most important key to our success has been that I've been driven almost, you know, I don't know if it's by craziness, by efficiency. I've been looking for ways to get ever more efficient year after year after year after. Yeah. All right. So this has been my mantra. Okay. Minutes saved here and there become hours, become days, become years. And that's the game changers that I want to present about you today. That makes the difference. And the reason why I'm focused on that is because I've been wanting to connect with my family and not work all the time on the farm. So all the efficiency that we're driving out of the farm and that I'm looking for, the goal is not really to produce more, but it's just to be able to cap my day's work and spend my time with the kids, because that's the reason why we started the farm in the first place, was to have a space for my family to live in the countryside and be happy together. So we've achieved that. Fast forward, guys, 4 years after the publication of my book, and again, Elliot Coleman is involved into what happened to me next. But Elliot, like I said, has become a friend and has been a mentor to me, and he was consulting for a very wealthy Canadian businessman that wanted to start a farm, an experimental farm in Quebec, Canada. And so, long story short, they've asked me if I would do it, and I decided to take on the project. And we've designed and built what is called La Ferme des Quatre Temps, which is a polyculture farm where there's chickens that are in egg mobiles, that are ranging, following cows that are grass-fed, that are not grazed around the farm, and we have pigs that are in the forest. All this on one site that has also an 8-acre market garden. So about 3 times the size of my own garden. And the reason why this market garden is so big is because we wanted to have training ground for young people to know how to really work efficiently their 1-hectare farm or their 2-acre farms. And so we've had to size the farm big enough so that everyone like training on the farm would get enough room to feel what I call the pressure and learn how to work with the 5th gear. Okay? We'll see a picture of how that farm looks like. What I've learned through all these years farming is that you need to be able to shift and work in the 5th gear. And that 5th gear, you only are able to roll with that when you're comfortable being under somewhat a little bit of stress and a little bit of pressure. And so that's why we've designed the garden for it to be so big that there's 10 of us working in it. And there's just a lot of work, but I mean a lot of work. And so that was the original goal behind the farm. And we've done a lot of designing. I've worked with a permaculture design crew to do a lot of cool stuff on this project. And it's just an awesome farm. It's an experimental farm. The goal of this is not to illustrate, you know, how to make it work financially. The goal is to train people, for them to become good growers. Okay? So massive project. And again, all of it I've designed for efficiency in mind. Because coming back to what I think efficiency is the #1 game. So on this farm, there's 450 permabeds, and we have at least 2 successions per year. So 1 bed that is carrot will be lettuce, 1 bed that is rutabaga will become carrots or whatever. And there's 11 people working on this project. So just a lot of production that needs to be seeded, transplanted, a lot of harvest. And just to give you an insight, first year, the sales on that farm were around 250K. This year, we've doubled. It's around 450. And it's just massive. And efficiency, again, was something that I needed to work on, especially with weed control and weed prevention. So this is the typical setup that I've always used on my farm, working with hand hose and wheel hose. But now we needed to find something new, and that was a big part of my job. It took 1 year to research different permaculture principles, but also traveling, visiting farms, and look at systems And all of this, guys, to come to my #1 game changer that has really radicalized the approach on this project, which is the biodisc from Terratech. Okay, so this is a double wheel hoe that is a toolbar that has 2 discs that allows you to hill up the soil. And in my toolbox, it is the only tool that allows me to cultivate on the row and between the row at the same time. And the fact that you're cultivating on the row destroys the weeds that are growing on this row. You take them at the right stage. Okay, so you really see how that works. So it speeds up the cultivation, which we used to do with stirrup hoes, about 10 times. So what would take, I don't know, a bed would take about 20 minutes. Now it takes 2 minutes. And the fact that we have a lot of these beds, in the end, saves us just a lot of time. Okay? You really see how that goes? You know, that's made for really dense seeding. There's 6 rows on 30-inch. And we're able to come with the biodisc and cultivate on the row and between the row at the same time. Okay, any questions about that tool?
Yeah. What was the question? What's the brand name?
So you see here, it's called the Terratech double wheel hoe. In Canada, it's sold by Dubois, and in the US, it's sold by Johnny's Selected Seeds. In France, obviously, Terratech is a really nice French tool company. I've been consulting with them for, I think, 3 years now. They've come up with a lot of interesting hand tools for the market garden, and I've tried pretty much all of them, but by far, the one that I've adopted in my system is the biodisc, for the reason that it allows me to hill up and bury the seeds on the row at the same time as it's cultivating between the rows.
Does the biodisc mean you need bigger rows spacing? Okay,
so the question is, do you need bigger row spacing to use the biodisc? No, and that's exactly why this is the tool that I like most. Because I don't want to standardize my spacing to the weeding implement. That's the reason why I'm not using a tractor. The biodisc, the beauty of it is that up to 6 rows on 75 centimeters is enough room to cultivate with this tool. 75 centimeters, 30-inch. And so for anything that is 6 rows or less, we can really use the biodisc. And you saw in the video, I'm zooming down at super vast space. Okay. So another question? And you see, guys, how there's a lot of rocks. Like, this is the worst field ever. So it's not like if we're in sand here. This is rocky soils. But the biodisc just goes and it also breaks the crust, brings some air into the soil, and it's just working wonders. Okay. Another question? Okay. So that's a really cool one, and it's been saving us, you know, hundreds of hours into the field. The other one is also very cool. It's a Fleckstein weeder that a small company in the US makes. These guys are called Two Bad Cats. And it really mimics what most mechanized growers have in their toolbars, which is it's often called a blind weeder. But what it does is it scratches the surface and it destroys all the weeds that are starting to come up at the white 1 leaf or less stage. Okay, so you'll see what it does here. Whoops. So this tool allows you to blindly cultivate your 30-inch bed system. Okay. So crops that have been transplanted can be timed 10 days later and crops that have been direct seeded can be cultivated 12 days later. Okay, so you really see it doesn't harm the crop, but man, this is fast stuff, because we used to do this with stirrup hoes, and there would be 4 passage of the hoe between each of these rows, and now we're doing this super fast by simply zipping down the bed.
There's a question. Doesn't it hurt the small plants? Okay,
so the question is, does it hurt the small plants? And it doesn't. Okay, that's the beauty of this tool. The tines, the way they're made, they offset. When they hit the plant, they just go offset, and they only scratch the surface around the plant. And that's the beauty of this tool, is that you don't need to be careful. You're just kind of zooming down, and it's awesome. Imagine the amount of time is saved by using this tool instead of stirrup hoes that we used in the past. This is about 20 times more efficient, so 20 times less time that we spend weeding. The only thing is that you need to do it at the proper timing. So weeds cannot be big weeds when you use this tool. You need to time it so that you're doing it at 10 days, 12 days, or 18 days for 2 passes. Okay?
Do you use time weeder for young plants and the biodisk when they are bigger, or does it depend on the veggies?
Okay, so which tools do we use when? I'll show you that's the next slide in my presentation. Just 2 more words about the flex tine weeder. So it's light and very effective. It's under $300 US, and it's sold again by 2ByteCats in the US and by Dubois in Canada.
We're going to send them links to
Okay, so we'll send you links, guys, to all the tools, where we get them. All this information will be given to you. But man, this tool is a game changer, for real. Okay? And we use it extensively on the farm. And then that's the other game changer, is we've systemized practices of using the biodisk, if you can see the biodisk, and the flex tine once or twice, because the flex tine is good at preventing weeds from being there. It probably won't take all of them out, but a good 60 or 70%. And so depending on the crop, you see on the right, we use different strategies, but it's all in a calendar. So that's really the other thing about these tools, is that we've systemized when we use them. And we've cut down weeding on this new farm to about 100 hours or less. We've used the stirrup hose the last 2 seasons about 2 or 3 times. And that's 450 permabeds. And we're doing 1 or 2 cropping per bed. So these strategies, guys, they do work, and they work big time. Okay? So I need to shift gears now. People are telling me to go faster here. Woo! All right, sorry. Okay, so another game changer. And a lot of the focus is on cultivating, because it's important. You see your fields are infested with weeds and you're looking for strategies. I've just showed you 3 great strategies: flex tine weeder, the TerraTech double wheel hoe with the biodisk, and having a task calendar that systemizes when you use them, where and when. Okay? Now, what we figured out on this new farm is that half of the time spent working on this farm is either harvesting or cleaning the produce for market. So that's half the time, and we needed to find ways to optimize how we do things. Otherwise, I could not have done what we do now on the farm. Spend a lot of time researching for best practice designs and how to set up a washing station that would be very efficient and functional. And the main centerpiece of this washing station is, so this is a picture of my old washing station on the farm. This is what I've done for many, many years, using bathtubs, washing greens in a salad spinner, something really simple. But on the new farm project, I really needed to upgrade my game and figure out strategies that would allow me to do more production, process more veggies faster, And so, yeah, we did a lot of things. All of these 3D sketches, they're made with SketchUp. And we've now designed 2 washing stations that are on Google SketchUp. They're free. You guys can put them up. You can move these things around. It's really cool. But the design was made 3D before we even did the washing station. So the centerpiece and another of my game changer is the bubbler, which is a big tub that ours is a 500-gallon milk tank that we fill with water, and then there's air circulating underneath it, which bubbles. I'll just show you. Oops. Okay. So the bubbler brings air that mixes all your greens, and all the little particles of dirt or insects or whatever's on the leaf gets washed away because of the action of the jets. Okay, so we're using jacuzzi air pumps, and then we're spinning our greens into these washing machines that have been hacked, converted to be on the sanitary side of our process. Okay, so the bubbler is really cool for all sorts of greens. Mesclun, we do a lot of mesclun on the farm. We process about 300 to 400 pounds, so 150 kilos a week. And we do spinach, we can do peppers, we do all sorts of veggies using this system. Okay, so ours is quite big, scaled for our operation, but there's a lot of growers that are come up with, you know, mini bubblers, different contexts, but the principle is always the same. Okay, you have pipes that have holes in them, and then you have a jacuzzi blower that you turn on, and then it just, you know, creates the bubbler. So simple, but really highly efficient. We used to double and triple wash our greens. So if you're doing 200, 300 pounds, even 100 pounds, that's a lot of time. And now we simply dump it into the bubbler, and 2 minutes later, boom, it's clean, and then we spin dry. So this is the schematic design. We have a friend, Michael Kilpatrick. He has created an online tutorial that shows you all the material you need to make the bubbler with the prices and everything. So it's really awesome. It's a DIY that shows you all the steps how to make the bubbler, and it's awesome. Okay, so it's depending on the size of your bubbler. It could be a $200 project, or it can be an $800 project, but in the end, you're saving a lot of time. Questions?
Richard is asking, so any food safety issues with it?
The bubbler will be in accordance with food safety regulations in the US. Yeah. Then it's how you spin dry your greens that becomes a bit more of an issue, and I'll show you that in a second. Other questions?
How's the cost of the workout? How much air do you need to churn the greens?
Okay, so all of the specs are into the tutorial of how to build the bubbler. And we'll send you the link to that so you can have access to all the technical information about how to build it, how it works. But the focal point here is that this takes a lot of the space in the washing station, and we use it all the time, every week. So it's a very important tool in our toolbox now. You saw previously, you know, I'm assuming that everybody knows, listening to this webinar, that best way to spin dry mesclun or greens is to use a washing machine. The only problem with that is that it's not food grade, and it doesn't make the cut for sanitary services. So that's why we've been looking for other alternatives. I've pretty much tried everything. What's out there in the US either sucks or is really too expensive. And so we've been looking for solutions, and that's where, again, my friend Michael Kilpatrick, we've been working on different hacks the last 2 years to strip the washing machine of all its content and to really use only the motor to spin baskets that are food grade. And so there's been some innovation in that front. And again, Michael Kilpatrick, being one of my geekiest farm friend, has created an online tutorial where he shows people all the exact steps of how to retrofit a washing machine for it to be on the safe side of the sanitary procedure. So we're not totally sure that it's going to make the cut for regulation, but at least you're showing your inspector that you're working towards getting there. Okay? So, quick little trick here, flow valves, they do make a big difference. You set them up, they're very inexpensive, under $30, and then that fills your tub without you being there, so you can do other stuff. Zooming fast because we're slowly running out of time. A big part of my work on this new farm project was also how to become even more better at crop planning. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about that, and I've come up with a lot of great simple solutions that do save us a lot of time in the winter because we're much more prepared than in the past. We're following always 5 steps, and I won't go in detail, but I just want to get them out here. Setting up financial objective, determining production, making a garden plan, revisiting the production plan, and establishing a crop calendar. We do this right about now when we're close to finishing our season and before we start the other one. And using some of the data that we've been gathering for the last few years, always working on a 30-inch bed system, we've designed a lot of tools on Excel that allow us to really be specific and do a lot of cool stuff. So this is part of our Excel program. We have a budget planner that allows us to forecast our sales depending on the crop we decide to do, the number of beds, and the number of times we'll do the seedlings. We calculate the value, and then it gives you the value per bed and total revenue per crop, and then they all add up. So this is nothing new, but we needed to make sure that we're on target. So this brings us down to our other tool, which is trying to fit all our successions into the garden. Because like I told you, we have 450 permabeds, 45 field blocks of 10 beds each. So that's the design. And then we've had to figure out a way to map all the crops in their successions. And we've come up with this. You see on the left is the timeline. And so these are the 10 beds. And all our crops are in 2 colors. So beets will have 6 beds and will take 45 days. And what's great about this way of doing things is that we can actually move our crop around, see, and trying to figure in the winter where each crop will go, finding space first of all, but also determining a lot of stuff. I want to have crops that don't require to be super clean, following carrots, all sorts of strategies that I have. Then I have this model that allows me to really see my garden real time, bird's eye view, and move all of this around. So that, again, I cannot tell you how much time and efficiency has saved us in the garden, because every week we see what needs to be done and we know where to put everything. We have task calendars that systemize chores. So whenever we're planting turnips, radishes, arugula, whatever, we put it in the calendar, and then it automatically generates a sheet to tell us, okay, this needs to be flex time, harrow 10 days later, and another 7 days later. So we've been following task calendars that have just helped us not forget what's going on, because there's so many moving parts. We also follow a weekly seedling calendar, which is connected together. So I won't have time to show it all to you today, but what is planted here generates the number of seedling trays that we need to start, and then it connects to when it should be transplanted, which becomes another task, and then all of the work task lists connected to that. So everything is linked, but overall, the game here is that we're not kind of thinking about all this in the summer. We take more time in the winter. We have all these awesome tools now that are very simple. These are all Excel spreadsheets, and they allow us to really streamline operation in the summer when we're really busy. So fast forward here, I want to show you something that is really next level and which we're migrating to next year, okay? All right, so you guys are seeing 10, which is a new software that is going to be launched. The beta version has been launched this year, and me and about 40 different growers have been helping 10 help designing and implement what's going to be, I don't know the word, like an awesome crop planning. Integrate all the information together, synced, and that's really the missing part that I don't have with my spreadsheet, is how to put all the information together. You know, when we're doing sales, it automatically goes into the crop planning information. We can track labor time. We can give tasks, you know, directly with using phones or iPads or whatever. But this is really next level stuff. And so we're migrating this year, and I've been helping them design it and make it even better. But it's a peer-to-peer design, and it's just going to come even better. So that, for me, on this farm project is the next step, helping us save a lot of time and resources this way to make sure that we're really tight with record keeping and crop planning. So 10 will be launched in January, and so you guys can check it out. I think this is really awesome stuff. So moving on here, it's been an hour. I hope you guys can give me 10 minutes because we were kind of late because it kind of bummed out at the start. Another big tool for us is a seeder, okay? Because we have so many beds that we're seeding, we need to find a way to optimize how we do things. And the best seeder I know is the Jang seeder. It's just awesome. And the simple solution to that was just to adopt the Jang triple row seeder. Pretty obvious stuff, but you know, there was a commitment there to try it out, see what it does, and it's just been awesome. Okay, we've revisited some of our spacings to accommodate the 3 rows of seeder, and so now on the farm, a lot of the things are seeded 6 row on 30 inch. See how it rolls here? So it has the same really good result as the single Jang would have. So the Jang, why it's so good is because it's rough, it's versatile, it singulates the seeds really well, It allows you to calibrate it in many different ways. It's simple yet sophisticated and just awesome. But now putting the three of them together allows me to save a lot of time when I'm setting out to see, I don't know, 10 or 15 seed beds. Okay? So this tool is also one of my game changers, just because of the amount of time that it saves me. Okay? If we do a comparable of using the triple jang versus the single jang, and you determine how much time you spend going back and forth on your rows. These are 30-meter beds, 100-foot beds, and you calculate how much time you're saving. And to make the math here, I've made that you're being paid $14 an hour, which in my book is a bit underpaid. But the payback of buying one seeder versus the other is less than 2 years. So that's, for me, makes it very valuable, because then you'll have this seeder I'm going beyond my time here. It was supposed to finish at 6. So I have a few more things I wanted to share. And bringing it back to the reason why I started this project was I've been involved in inspiring and training people through my book, but also at my farm. We've had, about 30 people over the years come at our farm and work there. And a lot of them have started their own farm successfully. And that has always been a big mandate of me and Moylan. And now at this new farm, one of my goals was to have a bigger group of people that I can teach in context of enhanced efficiency. Which brings me to why I'm launching an online class, which is to try and spread this knowledge even further out to people that are not physically with me. Because now, again, I have more people. Now I have 10 students working with me for a year or two, but that's limiting in itself. And so we're launching actually right now, this is the official launch of a masterclass, and I'll show you what it feels like. Ooh. It's awesome, guys. I've been planning this project for almost 2 years. A lot of people are always asking me, okay, you wrote The Market Gardener, what's next? And I was just figuring writing a book is not the same as showing the people that work with me on the farm how I do things and why and all the steps of the way. So that's what we've come up with. We've been filming all the little details of how we do things every step of the way, trying to show you a method that will allow you to grow crops, super successfully. How to grow awesome cucumbers, how to make that happen. How to grow heirloom tomatoes inside a tomato house, make that happen. How to grow amazing, summer squash. How to grow all these crops all of them are different. And so that's the goal of the masterclass, is to give you insights and a method all the steps of the way. So I'm going to ask you guys, with your permission, if I can just tell you a bit more about it, because a lot of people have been asking us, okay, what's the laydown? What's the thing? For me, this masterclass is where I'm putting all my information and all my research, and I want to work with people that are committing to the concept of market farming. And we have a peer group of people that will be in with this group, sharing information between you guys. And again, the goal for everyone is to improve their farming. And that's what we want to achieve here. It's high quality video. We're showing you everything that we do every step of the way. You also have sheets, fact sheets, that give you the details written down. We're going to do monthly webinars where I'll try to answer the questions as much as I can, film the answers also, because that makes a big difference. And all sorts of tools, all of the hacks that we showed you today, the crop planning tool, it's all there. It's all awesome. And that's what it looks like. So you have the video content, and you have all of the things to your left. And it's really made as if it's a class. And so you don't have exams, but you're viewing the whole material in a very thought about educational way for you guys to really feel it out. Okay? And again, the reason why I'm doing this is because my whole life's work is to help people become better growers and just streamline their operation, find better solutions. I've been very fortunate. I've been successful on my own farm, and now I'm being paid to come up with solutions for growers. And this platform is where I share all of this work with the people. There's a lot of freebies that come with that. There's a lot of the tool companies that I work with, seed companies, that give discount to the students, so you should make it up there. We'll have special events, and we'll connect the peer group together so that we can try and meet as much as possible. So all of this information is on the website, and it's the marketgardenersmasterclass.com. So it comes with 100% money back guaranteed. If you guys are not finding that this is bringing value to you, just write us a letter, and that won't be your problem. The goal here, it's not to gimmick people into this, is to give them information that I think will help them become better growers. So it's risk-free, and the cost of the class is set at $1,497 for the next 10 days. And so there's a discount, it's a $1,000 discount for the next 10 days. We're trying to create cohorts, so a lot of people sign up together, and then they can fund one another better that way. And so that's happening right now. And yeah, those are the details. There's Suleka and my team that's helping me putting this project up. They're there to answer your questions if you have any, but it's pretty there all on the website. And this, guys, is the last slide. It's the slide that I've always presented. Travel. It's the reason why we want to have farms is to be free and to make it work for you in your community, having a good lifestyle and making it happen. So today was really short, not enough time, but I have more stuff, and let's connect together. And I hope that you have an awesome Christmas, everyone, and we'll be in touch. So that's it. That's it for me. I can do perhaps a few more questions.
There's a lot of questions that we'll reply. A lot of specific questions about the flex meter and about the drip tape and about there's a lot of questions. So you can tell people will review their
All right. Okay. So what we'll do, because there's like 100 questions here, we'll review questions, and then we will write a sheet where we answer some of them and send it to you along with the PDF of this. So I think you guys can have access to this material, and I think that's the best way to answer there's a lot of you guys that are listening to this webinar. I just saw the numbers. It's pretty awesome, and I hope I can help. That's my goal, and I'm wishing you success in your farming adventures wherever you are. Okay, so peace out.